When I got into YouTube and I finally got to have access to pretty much all the hardware I could ever need, I wanted to build my first high-end PC, and I built it inside of the Cooler Master TD500 mesh, the original. This was one of the first PCs to ever run the Halo Infinite campaign. It was called the Cortana build because I was working on Halo at the time. I know a lot of you guys may not know this. We did a whole demo to Phil Spencer and all that sort of stuff, and I miss her. I do. But here's the deal, guys. Times have changed, so goodbye Cortana, and welcome Mesh V2. Now, you may not believe this, but a lot has changed in the PC case space since the launch of the original TD500 back in 2021. Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. I mean, Josiah, how long ago was that? It was like, okay, so it was less than 2 years ago, but it feels like a really long time in the world of PC cases. So YouTube case reviews and a more educated customer base like you has changed how case designers who used to build like these monolithic, like hot box, like monstrosities. But fast forward to 2023, and now you have cases like the LandCool 3, the LandCool 216, the H5 Flow, the H9 Flow, and things have really changed since then. And things have gotten a whole lot better for those of us who are looking for great PC cases. And they've come with modern day conveniences like front panel connectors. I mean, heck, you could probably mount a motherboard to the outside if you want to do that. I mean, who knows, but they're innovating all the time. So when Cooler Master asked me to take a look at the TD500 Mesh V2, well, after the wave of nostalgia that passed, and man, that build was beautiful, and it sat on my desk for so long, but I then became genuinely curious about what did they do to this case to update it, and it was one of their best cases. Is that going to be a continued trend with the TD500 Mesh V2? Well, when I opened the box, I was a little surprised because it looked the same, right? It is almost exactly the same PC. But here's the thing. When you put them side by side, which we did earlier on, there's actually already a big difference. And the first and foremost is just in the size. In fact, the size is 499 millimeters by 210 millimeters by 500 millimeters. Just go ahead and put this back off. Oh, man, I miss it so much. I just want to keep it up here. But now we have essentially increased the radiator support. So unlike the V1, you now have 360 millimeters at the top, 360 millimeters in the front. You still only can do 120 millimeter in the rear, both radiator and fans. Cooler Master is saying that they only are recommending radiators that are 55 millimeters in thickness. So think your standard AIO. Now you can do obviously custom water cooled at the front and at the top, but just make sure that you're using like that standard radiator. The other reason for the bigger size, and obviously you can see it right here, 40 series GPUs and even some of those thick boy 7000 series from Radeon, these need a lot of bloomin' room. So now you've got 410 millimeter of clearance, which means any of these massive 4000 series GPUs, like the Strix that we have right here, is going to basically fit, and that does leave room here for a front-mounted AIO as well. Cooler Master does say that you could do EATX motherboards, and they're very specific about the size. It's 12 inches by 10.7 inches, but the impact would impact your ability to use cable management. So yes, you can fit it, but you're gonna make it hook it up and look really ugly because you're covering all the rubber grommets. So stick to ATX if I were you. So let's talk about hard drives, because you've got the integrated motherboard hard drives, which are completely based on what you have inside. But for non-integrated motherboard hard drives, like your 3.5 inch and 2.5 inch drives, you basically can do 3 2.5 inch drives. And then for those of you who are still using 3.5 inch drives, you've got the standard drive cages down at the bottom, which you can basically plug in. And remember, the 3.5 inch drives are actually removable like they were in the original TD500, which is cool. For air cooling, you can do up to 165 millimeters or about 6.5 inches, which means like your Noctua NH-D15 does fit inside of this case, which is awesome. Now for PSU, you actually do have a lot of room down here at the bottom, especially if you remove the drive tray. We have 200 millimeters in length or 170 millimeters if you're gonna go ahead and keep those drives in. Okay, last thing we're gonna talk about before we talk about performance is we saw improvements in the V2 in terms of the front I/O. And you get 2 USB 3.2 Type A ports, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, along with an ARGB button, and also you get an audio jack. So how does this case stack up versus other cases, newer cases that have recently released? If you have been watching our case reviews, oh my gosh, what are you doing? It's ruined! I quit! And if you've been watching our case reviews for a while, you have noticed that this is something you've been asking for, but we haven't shown. Well, today that all changes. We're gonna tell you how this basically stacks up. Compared to other recently released cases, you can see that the TD500 Mesh V2 is sitting there in the middle in terms of our AIO comparisons. GPU-wise, it's a very similar story as it is to the CPU-wise. It's sitting right there in the middle. It saw slightly warmer GPU temps, but again, nothing crazy and more than fine for this case. Now, if you want to air cool this, it's a similar story. Now, we've got a smaller subset of things that we've tested so far, but when you stack this up against like the H9 Flow or other air-cooled cases like the Fractal North, you can see that we're talking a 1 to 2 degree difference, and it's the same thing for both the CPU and GPU. Okay, so now that we know a baseline, we know how this performs against other builds, let's throw a really beautiful custom build inside of this and see how that performs, and then use that to talk about how the build experience went. I do absolutely love how this build came out. And if you want to see the cinematic, just pure cinematic, no Robeytech, just me building, enjoying the whole process, then you should check out our Let's Build on this, which is available right here. And then if you love that even more and you want to build this build, you should check out the live stream that will walk you through the entire process and you can follow along to build this PC. Dude, check out these 1440p numbers. I mean, this thing did absolutely crushing at 1440p. That Ryzen 7700 and that RTX 4080 had zero issues poning any of the games that we tested against this. And then lastly, here are the 4K numbers, which were just as good. I mean, especially look at that Call of Duty Modern Warfare number and that Fortnite number. I mean, for you streamers, this is exactly the kind of PC that you want to have on your desk because it looks awesome, it's quiet, and it performs like a boss. And then on top of that, here's just the thermals, which you can see it had no problem because of that beautiful 90-watt Ryzen 7700. It had zero issues with this new Cooler Master Hyper 212 Halo, and the 4080 had zero issues whatsoever. So when we think about how a, just a showcase build would perform inside of this case, absolutely no issues. What is it like to build inside of it? And I know building is such a small part of the lifespan for a PC, but there are some things that I really like about this case. First and foremost, they allowed you the ability to remove the top panel to do your installation for your 360mm AIO with no problems whatsoever. I do actually love down here this lower PSU cover. So if you have something like an ROG Thor or an EVGA G7, you can absolutely see the display, or you can show like the G7 actually shows how much usage the PSU is getting. But if you don't have something like that, just pop the cover back on and you get this nice uniform look, which is cool because for the most part, let's all agree, PSUs just aren't pretty. The other thing I actually really liked, the rubber grommets. Even though the area underneath, the cutouts underneath the motherboard are actually really tiny, strategic placement of the rubber grommets and the fact that they're gray are very cool. So if you have a 16 pin like you do with any of the 40 series, it's also very nice to be able to run them off to the side. If you're going to do an AMD build inside of this or a classic 30 series build, because of the smaller cutouts on the bottom of the MOBO where you have to run those cables, it is it's very challenging to get those 8 pins in there, which sucks. I really wish that was something that they would fix. The other thing is in the top left-hand corner, and you can see it a little bit, there is a smaller hole for the CPU EPS cables, which is kind of a bummer. And the last and the biggest defender that I have to this case, you only have 19 millimeters or 0.74 inches of clearance for cable management. We did have to do the whole like put your whole body down and push the case in. We didn't have a ton of cables here, but if you're gonna put like Lee & Lee fans or Corsair fans or whatever it was, you might have to do that duct tape meme that I released just to make sure that you don't have a bulging back panel when you get this whole thing put together. Okay, Robey, you pretty much covered just about everything, but you never talked about the price. Well, that's because that's probably the best thing about this case. It's only $90. That is an incredible amount of value. Yes, you're not getting a lot of those modern day, like the integrated front panel. You can't do things like mount fans down at the bottom. You can't mount your motherboard on the outside. It can't call your parents when they're falling and they can't get up. That seems like a small price to pay for a small price, if you see what I did there. So closing it out, the Cooler Master TD500 V2 is an evolution of the Cooler Master TD500 for folks who want to use this case for a more modern day build that requires more space and room. It has more than enough updates to keep the case relevant, and the performance is at a place where I think anyone should feel comfortable using this case for pretty much either an AIO build or an air-cooled build. However, the price really kind of puts it over the top because there is a lot of value in here for only $90. And even though there are some sacrifices for that price, those sacrifices are small enough that given the price point, feels like things you can shrug off for just a somewhat limited build experience. So if you like the etching and you like the front panel, then you can build a build like this that looks incredible, that is just going to be cheaper because of how much less expensive this case really is. And I think you'll be very happy with both the performance and the look because of it. But I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you guys think of the case? Do you like the fact that we actually now stack these cases up against themselves with standard builds and with both for AIO and for air cooling? We'd love to know that. And do you like the unique stylings of this case, or when they put unique stylings like this on other cases? I'd love to know that as well. Let me know all that and more down in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, make sure you slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you get a notification each and every time we post a new video, either a Let's Build or a case review like this on our channel. Remember when I talked about being able to build this live? We should definitely check out our live channel over at youtube.com/RobeyTechLive, where we're building PCs every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. These are the latest cases, the latest builds. So make sure you like and subscribe to that so you know when we go live with builds like this, that you can follow along and build with yourself and meet other tech and PC enthusiasts. The other place to meet tech and PC enthusiasts is our Discord server, which you can check out over at discord.gg/Robeytech, where we have tons of people, literally tens of thousands, who love to talk about PC building. You want to get tech help, you want to ask questions about hardware, or you want to find other information about deals, etc. It's an amazing community, and you know what? Hey, you might just make a friend. Outside of that, you can follow us on other socials at Robeytech, absolutely everywhere. Anyway, guys, that is it for this episode. I'm going to go miss my Cortana build, and I'm going to go get some other videos made just for you.